That was arguably one of the best women's events at US Nationals that I've ever seen. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today is my very long overdue recap of US Nationals in the women's event. I apologize for it taking so long to come out. We are about 2 weeks away from the Olympics, less than that, which is insane. I will be making a Olympics preview video as well, so stay tuned for that. I should hopefully get that out within the next week. But I did want to talk about the women's event at US Nationals since I made the video kind of talking about who was going to make the Olympic team, and spoiler alert, I was perfectly correct. Which is not surprising. I think it was pretty obvious who was going to make it, and we had some really good skating though. As an Ashley Wagner stan, US Nationals during an Olympic year, I tend to feel a little nervous. And if you know at all about how Ashley Wagner's career went, you might understand why. So I was just kind of waiting for something crazy to happen, and it didn't happen. And it was so exciting to see so many of our established skaters really step up in the face of such pressure. So let's do a recap. Let's discuss how Nationals went and how I think this is going to bode for our three who are headed to the Olympics. Now, before we dive into today's video, in case you don't know who I am and this is your first time with my channel, hello, my name is Hannah and I am a competitive figure skater at the adult level. I did begin skating over 20 years ago at the age of 6, and I've taken multiple breaks, one of which ended just about 8-ish months ago after 6 years off, and I am competing again for the first time during the Olympics. I compete in a little less than 3 weeks, which is really crazy. I'm really excited. But today's video is not about my skating. Today's video is about the amazing skating of the women at the US Nationals event. However, if you are interested in hearing about my skating journey, let me know in the comments. I am hoping to maybe do some vlogging of my upcoming competition, as well as answer some questions about what it's like to be a skater who's been doing it for a very long time but has had to kind of stop and then return as an adult. I feel like I've gained a lot of experience and knowledge from that, so let me know in the comments if you're interested in that. But otherwise, we're gonna dive right into today's topic, so don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. Let's get into it. So I kind of want to start by just talking about a few honorable mention skaters that I just noticed. The thing that surprised me about this Nationals is it almost seemed like the skaters who really, they didn't have a chance of getting to the Olympics, like something crazy would have had to happen. It felt like they were the ones who were still kind of buckling under the pressure. The skaters who were, as long as they skated well, they would go, were like thriving in the pressure, which I feel like is so different than normal. Like I said, I feel like I've just had such a long history of one or more of the favorites just having a really rough Nationals the year of an Olympics that I'm used to seeing that happen, and it is a very, very pressuring experience. You know, I've heard Ashley Wagner talk about how Nationals in general was always a tough competition for her, and then you add in the Olympic team selection and it was just like a mess. So I really do want to just say that shout out to our top women, but I hope that all of the newcomers, as well as the ones that maybe are, you know, still gaining some experience, I hope that they can take this as just a good experience and know like what they need to do moving forward, because skaters like Star Andrews, who is going to be switching to pairs, which is really exciting for her, Alyssa Liu, Josephine Lee, these skaters who we know who they are, they've been around a couple years, just really had a rough event. And then a lot of the incoming seniors also were a bit rough around the edges as well. So it was an interesting Nationals because usually those younger skaters, like there's at least one that kind of breaks through and throws everyone off and ends up on the podium. But that wasn't going to happen with the way our top skaters skated here. But on top of that, I feel like those skaters still struggled a bit. So the first skater I wanted to talk about is Emilia Nemirovsky. I mentioned her in my preview video. She is such a stunning skater. I think she is like the full package. She reminds me a lot of Gracie Gold in the fact of like she has what it takes. She has these beautiful jumps that are worthy of very high component scores. She has good skating skills. She has pretty good performance as well. She's a little bit like not emotive, but I think that'll come with time. She just really lets pressure get to her. She's very inconsistent. She's been that way for a while because I've actually been following her for a few years. I've been following her through the juniors because I've been really excited about her, but she tends to just really struggle I thought she was going to win the junior event last year with how good of a skater she is. She ended up 4th because she had a really rough free skate. And then when you think about like her junior Grand Prix assignment that she had, she was pretty good in the short program, and then the free skate was kind of a mess. She did really well at sectionals, but then she struggled here. So I think she just needs to get some more competing under her belt. It is a very common thing for our US women to have what it takes, but just really struggle with putting it together in competition. So I do really, really hope that she can figure that out, because I see some great things for her. She's only 15 years old, so she has a lot of time. She has a couple of years before she's even age eligible for senior, so I hope that she can just continue to get that experience. Maybe she gets 2 Junior Grand Prix assignments next year, gets a little bit more comfortable with her international competitions, and I'm really looking forward to seeing her future. Yes, this was definitely a disappointing event for her, but I still think that she has the capability of being national champion in the future. Amelia ended up in 9th. I would like to add that she did pull up all the way from 14th to finish 7th in the free skate. So good on her for really kind of like forcing herself to have a good skate in the free skate. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does in the future. Also, YN Machida, they were absolutely amazing. When I found out that they started working on triples and started landing triples at 21, very inspiring. Their Ina Bauer, amazing. Just huge shout out to them. What they're doing for the sport, what they're doing for themselves is really inspiring. So I just want to shout them out because I love their story, and I really, really hope that they can continue to work really hard to maybe, see what happens in the future, because if you can land your triples at 21, you can do anything. You're a superhero in my mind. All right, but I want to talk about the top 6. That's going to be like my main focus here, just because I felt like the top 6 really stepped up in the final event, and we saw some just absolutely spectacular skating. So starting with Sophie Jolien von Felten. Now, Sophie is the most successful young skater here. And by young, I mean like she is, I believe, also only 15. So she's got a couple years before she's eligible for senior. And she is also now headed to Junior Worlds in a couple of months. This is her very first senior national. She is the reigning junior national champion. So she had a lot of, I think, pressure going into this. She had a rough short program where she finished in 10th, but she was able to, kind of like Amelia Nemirovsky, just like really grit out a good free skate. Of course, Sophie Jolien von Felten has the Ultra C elements. She did not attempt the quad sow here, but I have seen her do it in competition, and it's quite good. It's a little bit under usually, but it's very like consistently landed, which is pretty good. Her triple axels in the free skate were gorgeous as well. Now, I'm always a little bit nervous when I see such young skaters doing Ultra C elements. Based off of the history and background of all these previous young skaters who were winning things at age 15 and 16, and then we never heard from them again because they were getting these injuries. I just hope that she is training her body so that that doesn't happen to her, because when you are doing these Ultra C elements, that's so hard on your body, especially when you're so young and you're still growing. So I just hope that she is practicing in a way that is good for her, works for her. I always get nervous when I see these young skaters doing these Ultra C elements because it's just so tough on their bodies, and we've really yet to see someone be able to have a long career when they've been focusing on those Ultra C elements. But I do think that we're seeing a change because the sport is pushing for longevity more than it used to, since our age minimum for senior has gone up. So I think that she has the potential, and if she can manage to keep those jumps, she could be a force to be reckoned with. Now, Sophie definitely still needs to work on her second mark. All 3 of her program component scores could be worked on: her skating skills, her composition, and her performance. That is partially due to the fact that she probably spends most of her time working on jumps. That's why she's such a good jumper. But at the same time, when she kind of doesn't do a perfectly clean program, which is very often, like if she starts the program out with like super solid triple axels, a quad sow, sometimes the triples in the second half of the program not necessarily fall apart, but she just starts to kind of get like, not lazy. It looks like she isn't trying to make sure they stay good. Like she'll step out of something, or she'll put her hand down, or she'll turn one into a double. So same thing for her. She really needs to work on that consistency. And I think that if she can get a little bit more consistent with those triple jumps, because she can do the triple axel so well, and her quad sow is really quite good as well, I think she could absolutely be, a force to be reckoned with. She needs to be able to get it all done, and she also needs to work on those skating skills, choreography, and her performance. All three of those are a little bit on the weaker side for her, so I would really love to see her develop those. But overall, this was, I think, a very good debut for her at the senior level. Like I said, she is the top performing young skater here, and she beat multiple skaters that have a lot of history. I mean, Josephine Lee had a really rough free skate and came in last place in the free skate, 16th overall. Elise Lynn Gracie was pretty rough in the free skate. All of these skaters that have gotten Grand Prix assignments, she beat out. So obviously, she's still too young to do Senior Grand Prix, but I think this just was a really great debut for her. When the top 5 skated the way they skated, coming in 6th means you pretty much won the actual competition. Because since the top 5 were just so good and have a lot of international experience, everyone was fighting for 6th, and she got there. So good for her. So coming in 5th place, which I think was a pretty disappointing placement for her, but I'm still very hopeful for her in the future. That is Sarah Everheart. Sarah, I was very worried heading into this, not because I was like, oh, she could definitely make it to the Olympic team, but I don't know if she's going to be able to manage. I knew with her season that the Olympic team was just not something she was going to be really trying for unless absolute chaos hit, which it didn't. But she actually skated quite well here. And what Sarah had last year, which was her senior debut, was consistency. She was going out and she was landing things, and that was what was important, and that was what was so successful about her senior debut. She came in 3rd at Nationals. The only reason she didn't compete at Worlds is because Isabelle wasn't at Nationals, and they still sent Isabelle because of her international background, which I think was the correct decision. Isabelle, after all, came in 4th place, which is very, very good. But then this year, Sarah just didn't have that consistency. She was having all kinds of little mistakes throughout the Grand Prix, as well as getting way more under rotations than she did last year, which was kind of an across-the-board type thing. The technical panels have seemed to be a lot more strict this year, and she was just completely obliterated by them because of her technique. So it was really good to see her show up here and put together 2 pretty much clean programs. And I do actually agree with the fact that she beat Brady in the short, but then fell to 5th in the free. I feel like she was better than Brady in the short, but Brady was definitely better in the free. So obviously, because top 4 get a medal at Nationals, she was the first one to not get a medal, which I'm sure is pretty disappointing for her after winning bronze last year. But I think she has a great future. Something that people, I think, miss with her is her skating skills are actually incredible. Sarah is a very solid skater. She's got really great speed, a lot of depth in her edges, and she doesn't have a whole lot of crossovers in her program, which is really difficult to do. The more steps you do, the harder it is to generate speed, so the more steps you have, usually it means more skating skills. There are some skaters that manipulate this, mostly Eteri Tuktunetsi's girls. But Sarah has just incredible speed and depth of edges that her skating skills are actually quite good, and her composition, her choreography, everything is very good as well. If they actually scored components properly, where they actually paid attention to what each one meant, and we're okay with them being very different, because there are a lot of skaters that are good in one but not in the other, but the judges are never willing to actually show that difference. But if Sarah was judged properly on her component scores, I think she should be getting those high 8s and low 9s in skating skills and composition, but performance should be in the 5s. Sarah looks down the entire time she skates, which is skating 101. Don't look at your feet. It's almost like she's scared to make eye contact with the judges and the audience. So I would really, really like for her to work on the performance aspect of things, because she overall is a very well-rounded skater. I just need her to perform to the audience, make the audience feel invested in her skating. And Sarah is definitely the type of skater, Alyssa and Isabelle are sticking around, but Brady and Amber are likely to retire after this. I think Brady is pretty much for sure retiring. Amber, she's kind of talking like she's going to. I don't even want to think about that. That makes me so sad. But it would make sense. They're late 20s. They would be in their 30s for the next Olympics, which the sport's moving forward in longevity. I don't think it's quite gotten there yet. So with the idea of an Amber and a Brady retiring, Sarah can definitely step into that trio of world skaters and going to the world championships. She just needs to figure out what happened this year. Why was she having so many struggles internationally? Because she also went on to go to 4 continents, which has already happened, and she had a really rough skate in the free skate. So I hope that that's just more of a, like, on the day. It's a really short turnaround. Like, I think she didn't even go home in between nationals and four continents, and four continents being in China. I know what it's like to travel to Asia now, and it takes a while to get untired. So I just hope it was more of a one-off and that she's figured it out. So we'll see what happens. Of course, there is the possibility that she might find herself at Worlds. I think she's the second alternate, and I could very much see 2 of the top 3 withdrawing from Worlds after Olympics, especially depending on how it goes. So her season might not be over yet. Brady's season might not be over yet. We'll see. But I did really enjoy watching her skate here. And she was kind of the start of the clean program after clean program after clean program, which is so exciting to watch. So now we're moving on to the podium. So coming in 4th was Brady Tennell. So I have never been the biggest fan of Brady. Brady is a skater who has made a lot of progress over the past 8 years since she made her senior debut, and I actually do enjoy watching her skate a lot better now. She still doesn't bend her ankles, her dresses are interesting at best, but you cannot deny that she did her job here. She did post afterwards that she knew going into this that the Olympics was a long shot and was likely not going to happen, so she had her expectations, I think, in line for this event, but she knew that she still needed to skate clean. And, you know, when you think about it, if anyone in the top 3 had struggled here, I think there would have been a story to have about, like, sending her to the Olympics, especially if, like, Isabelle had a rough skate, which is the only person I was kind of talking about in my last video, where it was like, Isabelle is probably gonna go, but Brady's right there if Isabelle makes mistakes, and obviously Isabelle didn't let that happen. But what Brady did was really, really good. You know, it's really inspiring to see her come back from so many injuries and that sort of thing. And while her jumps are still a little bit scary to watch, they look a lot more controlled and just, like, on top of it. Less stiff is the way I can say it. Like, her skating has always felt very stiff to me, and it still is a little bit, but it definitely looks better. She looks a lot more sure of her feet. And she also just had a really great four continents where she came in 4th. And keep in mind, the Japanese women swept the podium, where 2 of them are going to the Olympics, and the other, who won, was just skating lights out at four continents. And I'm sorry, but Yuna Aoki winning four continents made my day. She is the full package skater, and I know, like, there's a reason she's not going to the Olympics, but man, oh man, are we, it's kind of a travesty that she's not going to the Olympics now. But enough about her, we're talking about US Nationals. Brady just was very good, like, very, very good, and she absolutely deserved that 4th place over Sarah. I know both of them skated 2 clean programs, but I felt like on the day, yes, Brady definitely had not just a better free skate, but just a better competition. I was a little bit sketched out by Brady getting a Q on her triple in the short and Sarah not. I felt like it either should have been they both got it or they both didn't, because they both looked very similar. In fact, I felt like Brady's triple in the short looked cleaner than Sarah's, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm not seeing it at the angle that the technical controller can, so, you know, what do I know? I know quite a lot. I'm a figure skater. But at the end of the day, that ended up not affecting anything, because if Brady didn't get a Q in the short program, it's not like she was going to be able to manage 3rd, because there is a 13-point difference between her and Isabelle. So while it was, like, frustrating, it didn't affect anything in the grand scheme of things, especially because she still ended up beating Sarah. So good for her. If Four Continents was her last event, she ended her career on a very good note with 2 very good competitions, and she should be very, very proud of that. And she's done a lot for US skating. You know, she kind of popped in when US skating was a little bit like, oh, we had a world medalist, but now we're kind of all over the place. And yeah, we didn't have a world medalist again until 2022. She still was, like, right there and trying very hard and struggling with injuries. So it's still very inspiring. Even if I never really was the biggest fan of her, I'm a fan of her story and her journey, and what she did here was incredible, and she was absolutely deserving of becoming the first alternate for the Olympics and for Worlds. So with that, let's talk about our Blades of Glory trio. Oh, they said they were announcing the name. I feel like that should be any time now. Let's see here. That's gotta be soon. Wouldn't that be crazy if, like, it's happening right now? They have not announced. Okay, well, I'll check again when I'm done recording, because it's happening at some point today. They're announcing their trio name. Anyway, Isabelle Levito. She finished 3rd place here, and surprisingly, came in second in the free skate, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment, and also when I talk about Alyssa. Isabelle coming in third was exactly what I was expecting from her. I felt like that place had her name on it. All she needed to do was skate fairly well, because Isabelle internationally is not going to compete with like Alyssa and Amber. Alyssa, of course, has her world title, so she is just like kind of ahead of the other two with like reputation and components and that sort of thing. Amber has a triple axel, so she has a leg up in the technical base value. Isabelle is the one of the three where I'm like, yeah, I don't think she's going to be on the podium at the Olympics unless something crazy happens, which you never know. Ice is slippery and the Olympics are crazy, so it can happen. But she absolutely did her job here. I like her short program. It's not my favorite thing in the world for her. I know she loves it though, so I don't want to like drag on it, and it's not bad either. She loves it and I can tell, so I'm like, okay, I love it. But there's something about it that just feels a little bit like juvenile to me, a little bit cheesy to me. And again, that's just my opinion, but I do love her dress. I love her free skate and her free skate dress, gorgeous. But there's something about the short program that's just missing for me, and I think the judges felt it too, because there was no reason. With the scores that they gave Amber and Alyssa, they should have given her like at least a 78, giving her a 75, and then also giving Alyssa an 81 and Amber an 83. I was like, they could have definitely given her a little bit more. So I did feel like the judges were sending some messages to our top skaters here, even though they skated clean with some of the scoring and choices that they made. But Isabelle she went out there and did so good. She beat Alyssa in the free skate in both the total segment score and the components, which I was very surprised by. So I feel like Isabelle gets a very bad rap because of her jump technique, which is not good. Like, objectively not good jump technique. She should not be getting high GOEs on her jumps at all. They are not pretty. It's terrifying. I'm very worried about like her back and her knees because she's putting so much strain on them when she jumps. But her skating itself is gorgeous. I don't think people realize how difficult it is to, every time your foot leaves the ice, have your toe pointed so perfectly. That is so difficult in skating. The amount of time and effort she probably put in to be able to do that on ice the way she does, mad respect to her. Like, she is a skater who I feel like, unlike Sophie Jolene von Felten, who probably focuses mostly on jumps, Isabelle probably has spent a crap ton of time on her PCS, and I absolutely agree with her beating Alyssa in the component scores at this event in the free skate. Is she going to internationally? Probably not. Again, Alyssa is the reigning world champion, and with that always comes a bit of a PCS bump. That is just known. That is going to happen. Isabelle doesn't have that. However, Isabelle still gets like high component scores. She honestly gets higher component scores than Amber internationally. I think I mentioned that in my last video actually. And I agree, like when it comes to the performance, when it comes to the skating skills, when it comes to the composition of the program, she's very, very good in all three. Is she a little bit slow? Yes. However, speed does not equal skating skills. It can be a sign of good skating skills, obviously, but like the people that are like, oh, she's slow, therefore she should have bad skating skills marks, that's not how it works. There's a lot more behind it. Yes, skating skills or speed can be a part of getting those high skating skills, but it's only one of many. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes like skaters skate a little bit slower, but they have so much control over their blade that they still deserve high component scores. And I think that's the case for Isabelle. I was really happy for her. She was the only one I felt like going into this arguably probably had the most pressure, because Amber and Alyssa had a lot of wiggle room with how their international season went this year and at the end of last year. Isabelle didn't have that. She didn't go to the Grand Prix final. She even missed the podium at one of her Grand Prix, which is why she didn't go to the final. So I feel like Isabelle was the only skater of those top three that could have gotten knocked out by Sarah or Brady, so arguably had more pressure on her than everyone else. If she was aware, she might not have been aware, because Isabelle seems to be in a very healthy mindset along with Amber and Alyssa based off of all of the interviews and press conferences during this event. And she really just went out there and did her job, and I think if she skates like that at the Olympics, she's definitely looking at a top 6 placement possibly. It kind of depends. I'll dive into that in another video, but I don't think she has a chance at the podium unless something crazy happens at the Olympics, which, like I said, can happen, but she should be very proud of how she skated here, and just really the momentum is building for her after like kind of a slow start to her season she came in 4th at a senior B even. So it was like, okay, like what's going on here? And then she got 2nd at Skate Canada, and she got this at Nationals, which was very good. Like she's building that momentum, and I think that she's going to be just fine at the Olympics. So Alyssa Liu. This was really the only surprising-ish. I thought she was going to win, but that was mostly because I felt like Amber was going to make a major mistake, like a fall once, which wasn't going to be enough to take her out of the top 3, but was going to be enough to knock her behind Alyssa, and Amber proved me wrong. First of all, Alyssa's short program at this event, Alyssa's short program is already amazing, but that triple Lutz, triple loop, the way she did it, and it was so clean and so perfect, you could tell she like took a moment to be like, I just did that, because the way she came out of it and like stood there and did like a choreographic moment of just like kind of breathing, I could tell she was like, yeah, clap for me. Like, I just did that. Alyssa was just stunning in the short program. And it was so funny because when she got her score, which was of course over 80 and a new national record that gets broken mere 5 minutes later, Philip, I think, yeah, it was Philip who was like, welcome to national scoring, because it was just so egregiously high. But honestly, if she does that exact skate at the Olympics, she's not going to break 80, but she'll definitely be, I think personally, with the way she skates that short program and it working so well for her, I think it should be in like the 78 to 79 range, which will make her competitive with the people doing triple axels if she doesn't attempt her triple axel at the Olympics. She could. I will not be surprised if she doesn't. I will not be surprised if she attempts it there. It's Alyssa. Like, it's Alyssa's world. We're just living in it. But honestly, the short program, if she does what she did here at the Olympics, which I think she will, because she has the tendency to just get cleaner and cleaner with her jumps as the season progresses. That's what happened last year, but she's starting off way higher this year. I think that she will absolutely just solidify herself as probably being on the podium. I think she will very easily find herself on the podium more than Amber and Isabelle will. So she just needs to do that job and she will be fine. Now, her free skate. I've never seen people debate so much over Alyssa. Like, Alyssa has always been a skater I feel like gets a lot of just weird debating, like very strange. I liked her free skate, but I felt like she wasn't feeling it. So Alyssa is a very nonchalant skater because she's not necessarily taking these events that seriously. That's why she keeps skating clean, is because she's just in a good mindset. She said it herself, she's like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not life or death. I'm just skating because I want to. And that's why she's skating so well. But that kind of came across in the free skate when she needed to be fully committed. Like, she has these like hip hop moments where it could be such a cool moment if she like is sassy with it, but instead she's just like almost like like she seemed really shy. And for the record, she's already mentioned that she's not doing this at the Olympics, or at least in the individual event. If she does the free skate of the team event, I guess maybe she might do it because she specifically said the individual event, if I'm remembering correctly. But she has said that she's going back to MacArthur Park for the Olympics, and that was always the plan. I think that's a good idea. I very much could see this Gaga program just becoming next season's free skate, so she has plenty of time, so that by the time like the Grand Prix starts next year, which is later this year, she'll be like super confident in it and be able to kind of play around with it. I do worry that it's just her personality that she's very nonchalant. She's not the greatest performer. She usually needs to find something, like Promise is really good because it's more lyrical than anything else, so it works for her style of skating, but Gaga just didn't quite feel that way. The dress though, I want her to keep this free skate for next season just so I can keep looking at that dress because it is gorgeous. Lisa McKinnon is like my dream dress designer for good reason. She literally does all three of our US Olympic team. So I feel like the judges were sending a message to her, even if she hadn't planned on doing the MacArthur Park for the Olympics. I feel like the judges were trying to tell her not to do this at the Olympics based off of how they scored her, because going into this event, I was so sure they were going to fluff up her scores like crazy because she is their reigning world champion. The US has not had a reigning world champion since nationals of 2007. That's the last time we had a, well, did Kimmy Meissner even compete in 2007? I don't think so. So that would be what? When was the last time we had a reigning world champion? Over 20 years ago. So I was so sure that they were going to be like, let's give her like the highest scores to just prove to like Japan that she can beat Kaori domestically. Like, you know, I felt like they were just going to really fluff her up. And after the short program, I thought that was going to be the case. But then in the free skate, they were very conservative with her scoring. Like, they gave her a couple cues. They gave her a cue on the triple, and I was like, they shouldn't have done that. Like, I was shocked that they went that route here. And then her components were lower than Isabelle's. So I think the judges were kind of like, hey, please don't do this at the Olympics. We don't think it's going to do well there. Which, if she had already decided by then that she was going to do MacArthur Park, then it was a moot point. But it was interesting to see. I do agree with Isabelle beating her in the free skate. I think Isabelle had a better free skate than Alyssa here. And of course, Alyssa also had like the one, like her triple loop was definitely very clearly cheated. And I think they called it under-rotated. Let me look. They just called both her triple toe on the triple S triple toe and her triple loop Q. Which is interesting because they gave Isabelle a full-on under-rotation on the triple toe in her triple, which I also agree with. It was very clearly under. And then Amber got a Q on her axle and an under-rotation on her loop. So even with how good this event was and how solid, all of our skaters still left some points on the table. So if they can just go to the Olympics and just take out these little Qs and under-rotations, they'll be a force to be reckoned with. Are they going to sweep the podium? No. When I think it was Andrea made that comment, I was like, okay, be so for real. Let's not put that pressure on them. Don't even bring it up. We could definitely have 2 on the podium. Like, that's a realistic thought. One is, I'm not going to say guaranteed because Adelia could show up and really ruin things for everyone, but 1 is very likely, 2 is a possibility. A sweep is like crazy things are going to happen that I just don't think is going to happen. But that being said, I was very surprised that they were willing to kind of be on the conservative side with Alyssa's scoring. She scored almost a point less in components than Isabelle, and they gave her cues. The loop, yeah, you couldn't get away with that, but I felt the triple, they could have turned a blind eye to that easy, like, which is what they normally do with this kind of stuff. So I was surprised. I think they kind of got to the point where with how well Amber was doing, they were like, you know what, let's just make sure Amber wins because then we have a 3-time U.S. national champion plus the reigning world champion, and they both can go into the Olympics with like all of this momentum, because I think that's what we're kind of talking here. Momentum. You can argue that because they don't get to do international in between nationals and the Olympics that they have less than like Mona and Ami, but Mona and Ami just had a not great 4 continents, so they kind of are like the pendulum is swinging back for them, while for Amber, Alyssa, and Isabelle, it's like swinging forward. So overall, like Alyssa did her job here. I was a little bit surprised she got silver. I did kind of think that it was pretty obvious she was going to win as long as she just did her job. She did her job, but she wasn't able to do it. But that is because Amber Glenn went out there and just slayed. I have never seen Amber look so good. I said this in my last video. Everyone's been like, oh, Amber's super consistent now. She really hasn't been. Is she better than she was 2 years ago? Absolutely. There was absolutely a switch that flipped at the beginning of last season that changed her, but she wasn't really consistent. She was still making mistakes. She was falling, she was popping, she was stepping out, she was under-rotating in every single competition, and that has continued. So to see her go here and be last in each group, Alyssa, Isabelle, Brady, Sarah, all bringing the house down, all skating so good, knowing that everyone skated well and she needed to. And to do it is so, like, this is a new Amber. And this is why I think Amber, I still think Alyssa has slightly more chance of podium at the Olympics just because her international reputation is better. Amber is definitely going to fight for that podium. And I think she, like, is ready to do 2 perfectly clean skates because she was oh so close here. So first of all, this short program, I was just like, we were 5 skaters into the warm-up group. She was the 6th one. And we were just getting banger after banger. Like that entire last warm-up group, save for like, I think Elise kind of put her hand down or something. Everyone was skating so freaking good, and Star skated really good, and she was the last of the warm-up group before them. So like it was just like good skate, good skate, good skate. And then Amber got out there and I was so nervous because Amber just has not proven to me that she can handle something like that. And then she went out and she did her damn thing, and I was so excited. Her short program is one of my favorites of the season. She breaks the record that Alyssa put up 5 minutes prior, like, or 10 minutes, because I think Alyssa skated before Isabelle, but goodness me, that short program was a banger. And then her free skate, she started out looking really tight with that triple axel, but then she just really settled into herself. That darn triple loop at the end though, like come on, girl, you got to do it clean at the Olympics, please. But she looked very calm. And Amber, it's hard to tell. There's been times where she's had a really game face on and then it turned out she was nervous and then had like a rough competition. And there's been times also where she's looked really calm and then she like went out and like looked lost. So it's hard, like she always has a very obvious face, but it's hard to tell what's actually gonna happen. Amber just, she was like in the ice. She looked so good. I could tell she was overthinking that triple loop, and it's good that she was able to manage it the way she did, because Nationals last year, she fell on that loop and she got it under at the Grand Prix final. And I think she stepped out of it at Cup of China and she fell on it at Nebelhorn. Like she's just been like that loop is causing her issues. So I think she overthought it a little bit. So the fact that she was able to hang on, even though it was so under, I'm so excited for her. I feel like she's on the cusp of 2 clean programs at the Olympics, and I need that for her because I want to see her succeed so bad. Amber's story is my favorite, like just how long she's been around, what she's been through, what she's done, the fact that she almost quit multiple times. I get that. I feel that. And I like to cheer for the girls that are like late 20s because I'm like, yes, do it. I actually teared up while she was doing her free skate because she was doing it so well, and I was just like, I've always enjoyed watching her skating, but I could never I was never able to commit to her because she was always just a hot mess express. And she was the type of skater where it was like if she made one mistake, she would fall apart after. Like it wasn't she was always on the cusp, she would just make one mistake here and there. Like it was a mess if she made one mistake. There was never a time where she had just one mistake in a program, because if she did, she let everything else go. So to see her do this and become 3-time national champion and do it consecutively for the first time since Michelle Kwan, good for her. Her momentum going into the Olympics is exactly what she needs. I think this is perfect. And I also think finally the media is knowing what to do with handling them, because the 3 of them have such a wholesome relationship. If it's fake, then they pulled the wool over all of our eyes, but it feels very real. It feels very healthy. And I think that's such a good thing for them, because the 3 of them have each other at the Olympics and they are not going to be so overwhelmed by the fact that they have to compete. Isabelle mentioned, she's like, I'm more excited for the Olympic Village, and it's just that I get to compete while I'm there. Alyssa is just like, I'm just competing because I like it. Amber's the only one that I could feel like will feel some pressure, but I think with Alyssa and Isabelle, they're like keeping her grounded. And I'm really excited to see how it goes. But what an amazing event. They all skated so beautifully. I agree with the results. I think that it was exactly how I would have judged it. So what did you think of Nationals? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Like, I couldn't stop talking about it with like my husband, he doesn't really know much about skating, so he's just kind of like, okay. I couldn't stop talking about it with my coach. Like, I was like, I need to talk to people about this because it's so freaking good. Like, it was such an exciting event. Like I said, I don't feel like I've had that much fun watching US Nationals in a long time. I've been talking about just women for 45 minutes. So if any of you ever want to hear my thoughts on other disciplines, I would be more than happy to make videos on them. I just don't have as many thoughts. I also probably will never talk about ice dance on here because I can't stand how it's judged. So anyway, if you want me to talk about some of the other disciplines, especially leading into the Olympics, let me know. But otherwise, what a great event. Be on the lookout. I will talk about some people to look out for at the Olympics soon. But thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust.